AM 710 WETG and 100.5 W263PE Rose Hill. This is the Community and Small Business Update with Lee Woodard on Surge Radio.
Good morning, Duplin County. You are listening to the Community and Small Biz Update for Duplin County. I am Lee Woodard. I am your host. The show is brought to you by James Sprunt Community College, your bridge to success, as well as the Small Business Center at James Sprunt. Go ahead and be honest and tell everyone I'm wearing my Carolina garb this morning. Care playing Virginia at 6:30. I caught a little grief on last week's show where apparently Kurt thought I was dressed as a Field and Stream model, and all of our guests had on coats and ties, and so it was GQ meets Field and Stream. And so this morning I gave about 2 seconds worth of thought of wearing something better, but nope, got to support the Heels for their game today. So go ahead and say what you will. I'm proudly supporting. The game starts at 6:30 for any of you who are interested. Anyway, we've got a great show for you today. I'm really excited about it. We have Susan Myers from Pink Hill is on the show, and Susan has just a wonderful story. And there's a lot going on in Pink Hill if you're not aware of it, and we're going to try to cover some of that today. And Susan, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. And, you know, I mentioned to you yesterday when we were just chatting that about half the folks that have been on the show are native to Duplin County, and about half come from somewhere else. And if I'm not mistaken, you said you came from the Mississippi Delta.
Yeah, I'm from the Mississippi Delta.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about the Mississippi Delta and where you grew up.
My family grows cotton, soybeans, and rice in the Mississippi Delta. I grew up on a county line town that was kind of like Pink Hill. Pink Hill's on the Duplin in North County. I grew up in between Tunica and Tacoma County. They're very much like Duplin County and North County. Only in Pink Hill, the farms are bigger and there's a lot less people.
Right.
we don't have the density of the population. We have a lot of the same problems. The problems in Mississippi, of course, much worse than the problems in eastern North Carolina, and we don't have the Tar Heels.
Right. Okay. Well, for some, that's probably a blessing. You know, here it's either red or blue, dark blue, light blue, or red. And, you know, so you're either a State fan or a Carolina fan. But I haven't had the opportunity to travel all over the world. That's pretty common. Just pick your sport, and they'll have those kinds of preferences as to who's better or who's worse. I just happen to be a Carolina fan. So tell us a little bit about... you have a really interesting background, so you obviously didn't stay in Mississippi. Tell us a little bit about how you made it all the way to Pink Hill.
Well, I was from a mixed family, Mississippi State and Ole Miss. A lot of fighting in there. Which one I was supposed to go to? I said, I'm out of state. So I went to Hollins, a women's college in Virginia. My daddy said, that's too close to North Mitsubishi line. I said, it's still on our side. He said, don't you marry a Yankee. So I went to Virginia to school, got a degree in economics, married a Virginian, and I started investing in the stock market when I was 12 years old. So I was involved in the stock market and wanted to own my own business. And I thought, what's the best way to own your own business is to be a lender and to learn from other businesses. And so I got a lot of good lessons off of other people's money.
Right.
They made mistakes with. And I was a lender for 13 years. I ended up being CEO of a lending company, president of a lending company in California, and CEO of a lending company in the Charlotte area. Then I left and started my own business, and we sold that business to a business that eventually went public. And down the road, I divorced and was going to remarry, and I'm going to remarry Al Ratchet at Pink Hill Pharmacy. And he thought, well, you know, I sold the business and moved to Charlotte. I'm like, no, I grew up in a small town. I couldn't get out of there fast enough. You know, when I was 18 years old, I was out of there. You know, and so, but in middle age, I've come back to a place very similar to Lula, Mississippi, and simply love it. Of course, I'm a busy woman, and I came here really with nothing to do, so I had to make my own career.
Right.
So I ended up buying up most of the town.
Yeah, well, that's just
And I am trying to buy more. We have a death by natural cause wish list. Because some people just won't sell the property, or they haven't seen the property in 30 years, and they think it's going to be worth something someday, but it's worth less and less because they're falling down.
Right.
So we have, in the past 4.5 almost 5 years, we have bought about 30 properties in downtown Pink Hill. 9 commercial buildings, all have been gutted, and they're all full. We have a waiting list of businesses to come in, we have a waiting list of homeowners to come in. And what we have bought on the residential side is stuff nobody wants. There's eyesores. We are buying all the eyesores in the town on the undesirable people, for the most part. And then there's some places we've torn down, and then there's some places that we are remodeling. And then we hope to down the road build houses.
Yeah, it's, I've told our county commissioners on more than one occasion that if you want to have economic development, you have to have infrastructure in order for it to happen. People typically, small business owners don't have the capital to improve the infrastructure and run their business. If they have enough capital, it's to run their business. So somebody else has to step in and provide oftentimes the building, the water, the sewage, the safety, all of those kinds of things. And James Sprunt has a commercial kitchen, which is an economic engine for the county, but the county doesn't have a lot of economic development infrastructure for small businesses, and I think what you're doing is one of those things. You're providing the opportunity.
So we've had Pink Hill Pharmacy, my husband's had it for 30 years, so he's well established. And so we are able, and I've been involved and established too, and so we're able to help and mentor and kind of incubate other businesses. So some of the businesses that rent from us, we do equipment loans to, we do personal loans. Eventually we want to sell all the buildings to the businesses and we'll finance them and sell the homes. But the business has to be stable enough first. Right. But when I die, I don't want to own anything. I may have many, and it can owe me money, but I want owner-occupied businesses and owner-occupied homes. The 2 infrastructure things that we have that are great in Pink Hill. Pink Hill just spent a lot of money putting a new water line in. We have the capacity for a lot of infill development. Secondly, if you've heard from Dennis Tross, is we've got 1 gig in and 1 gig out, and that is extraordinary. I'm a nerd, I've told you that, and so when you tell me you have a 1 gig up and down asynchronous system, I start salivating and start thinking about all the things that provides. And I get that the majority of folks don't really know what that means, but if you've ever been hooked up remotely in a rural area to your local phone company for internet service, you know exactly what that means. It means you have a very slow download speed and an almost an even worse upload speed, which limits what you can do. And not only does it limit your entertainment value, streaming videos or those types of things, but it precludes industry and other things from coming in that are going to require a much faster network. And so obviously telemedicine, all of those types of things become a reality when you have that kind of infrastructure. But even more so, that type of capacity, I guess, starts to make it feasible to provide citizens with Wi-Fi access anywhere in the town, anywhere in the county even. It becomes just an incredible foundation on which to build. And so it takes a lot of, one of the things I have to say, kudos to you, to Dennis, a lot of people don't have an investment horizon that includes looking out 5, 10, 20 years, but that's really what it takes. But you have to have moved away and come back.
It helps.
Have that vision. If I had stayed in the Mississippi Delta, would I have a vision? No, but I have left, seen other things, seen what happened there, and I get to do all that in Pink Hill without any baggage. I'm not related to anyone.
No, well, that's the other thing. Yeah, my daughter just went to UNC Asheville this past January. She finished up early at early college, and she couldn't wait. She was 18. She couldn't wait to get out of Duplin County. So maybe there's hope for her to come back if she gets her vision. Right now, she will. She's not going to even be close to the U.S. She's headed to China and some other places. But yeah, you never know. I didn't think I grew up in a county in North Carolina very similar to Duplin County, very rural, very agricultural all my life. My older sister and younger sister, one's in New York, one's in LA, they have no desire to be in rural North Carolina. I've never wanted to leave. I have chosen to stay and recognize that I gave up some career opportunities by doing that, but I like living in a very small community.
Our quality of life is great. I walk to work. We have a much nicer house than I would have in a big city. I walk across the street to the doctor. I walk, of course, to Pink Hill Pharmacy. I walk to the dentist, the chiropractor. We're building a walking community. There's no traffic. My daughter just went to boarding school in Atlanta, and the traffic there is just, oh my God. So we're trying to grow Pink Hill in a kind of a sustainable, control way. And with the high-speed internet and some of the other things, we can recruit people who want to eventually retire or move back here. Maybe they grew up here, but they still got to work, and they still need that high-speed internet to work.
That's right.
What we don't want to do, we don't want shopping malls and urban sprawl. We want infill development. We want white picket fences, pink roses, a safe, walkable town, and just to make it a place that you want to live and you want to retire.
Well, let's go back and get talk a little bit about your career, especially in lending. Can you share some sage advice that small business owners? Being the director of the Small Business Center, I have a lot of people come in with an idea for a business, and if you've got any experience in business, you'll look at what they have and you'll go, not likely to make it, and here's some reasons why. But almost without exception, the number one issue I run into is they are undercapitalized. They have insufficient funding to do whatever it is they want to do, and oftentimes pick the hardest of industries to get into, a restaurant, where you just need a boatload of cash to support yourself for a few years. So it takes me a while to explain to them why capital is so important, and then of course there are those who think you can just go apply for a loan and you'll get it. And that's at the end of the day, if you're not credit worthy individually, your business is never going to get a loan. And so you almost have to have the money before you'll get a loan for it. So from a lending perspective, what are some of the challenges and some of the things, what's some of the advice you'd give a budding small business owner?
You'd have to invite me back on another show. I could talk a whole hour on that. And I have experience from a lender and from an entrepreneur. I will say just a couple of things. It takes somebody in the front end and somebody in the back end. One person cannot make a business successful. Whether it's husband or wife or team or brother and sister, somebody's got to mind the front end, somebody's got to mind the back end. And ideally, one of those has another income. So, for example, we have a photography studio in town, Turner White Photography. The wife, Marie, is very talented. She's a photographer. The husband, Daniel, very talented in marketing and sales. And he also has an engineering income too. And they are able to invest a lot in equipment and invest, and they're just incredible. They're doing very well. That is the kind of combination you need. We also have a dress shop that we went to, Wild Air Boutique, the mother-daughter. And the daughter's there full-time, the mother is a business manager someplace else and helping manage and helping with all. So you have a business person, you have the sales person, front end, back end, same thing with the tire store. You need somebody, any type of business, same thing of course in a restaurant. It's interesting that immigrants own so many restaurants, and that's the reason is, and I have a personal theory, they can work their family like slave labor. And they bring their family in, they work their family to death, they live upstairs, and they don't have the lifestyle that you and I are accustomed to. They work all the time, they're here for the American opportunity. We would not have our level of entrepreneurs in this country if they did not have immigrants. Immigrants, first generation immigrants, made the best entrepreneurs.
Oh, I agree. I mean, try to dispel myths when I sit down. One of them is you're going to work less hours as an entrepreneur. I said, I don't care how many hours you worked for someone else. You're going to work more hours in your own business.
My husband got home at 11 o'clock last
night. That's right. You
know.
have no choice because you own it all.
Yeah, you got to love it. You got to love it.
That's the number one thing. If it doesn't get you out of bed or get you home at 11 and you not feel lousy about that, you probably aren't going to make it because it has to be consuming almost in what you're doing. Having help is having free help, or not free, but low-cost help is almost always necessary. But somebody typically has to be smart enough to know how to manage the business from an accounting perspective, stay on top of what your costs are, stay on top. I'm always a bit surprised when people will show up and they've been in business for a year, and they don't really know their cash flow situation. They don't really know their P&L, so they don't know whether or not they're making money. They're surviving, but we dig into it, and often we may find that they're not making money, and that this business has a clear end in sight in a few months or a year, but it's not going to make it unless we make changes. And so really, the ones that have been successful, their husband or their spouse, somebody is a bookkeeper or an accountant, and they're being very diligent about that, and they have all the information. So I don't think people really realize the time commitment. It becomes consuming. It better be something that just floats your boat and makes you excited about getting up every day.
Yeah, I mean, we know at Pick a Pharmacy, we know at the end of the day, every day, if we make money or not.
Right.
And my husband is really on top of that. He's really good at buying the medicines and all that. And I managed, we didn't have a front end when I got married, and I managed the front end, and I have an assistant manager that does most of the work. We have a great 99-cent store. We sell everything cheaper. Everything you find, we sell cheaper. That's kind of our marketing, because you got to drive to Pink Hill.
Right.
So.
And that's important, recognizing. And the other one today, I was going to ask you, because you are trying so hard to make things local, as you said, a walkabout environment. I can get to everything easily by walking. What role does the internet and social media play in your businesses?
Well, Facebook is huge. We market through Facebook, and we have a computer repair business as well. I all started that in 1987. So it's interesting. Somebody can come in the pharmacy, they bring their prescription, they bring their computer or their phone, they come pay the rent. It's kind of all the things.
Well, you hit on one of the things that I think it came from UVA. I'll have to go back and pull the study, but they did a fairly large cross-sectional study on small businesses. And I think they even went below what the SBA deems as a small business.
SBA gets pretty high.
I'm not sure I call that a small business when you have $100 million in sales or $50 million in sales, I guess it is, and 35, 40 employees. In Duplin County, a small business is what I call mom and pop, Main Street. It's 3 people in the business. If it has $250,000 in sales, it's large. And, when I look at those types of businesses, one of the things I try to share with folks, that study from UVA showed a variety of things, but it didn't group the businesses by type of business. So whether it was computer repair, a small pharmacy, whatever it was, it looked at them. Just what are the traits? What are the attributes that successful small businesses have? And they defined successful as a small business that had been in business for 10 years, nonstop. And when you look at some of the traits, they're very interesting. One of the things that, when you said someone may show up at the pharmacy to get their phone fixed, their computer fixed, fill their prescription, pay their rent, it just
ship to UPS,
all of that, you hit the nail on the head. One of the things I try to stress to all of my clients is that a successful small business has a minimum of 5 ways that revenue can get into the business.
That's interesting, yeah.
And most have more than 5 ways. And the reason for that is something magical happens around 5, in that your cash flow almost always comes out to be neutral. You have, whenever the inevitable down cycle is for any other one revenue stream, typically at 5, there's something else that plays opposite. So whether it's seasonal, no matter what it is, 5 is just a magic number.
That's interesting.
So I stress to my clients, get multiple revenue streams. And then to be smart about that, those revenue streams don't need to be opposites. Wherever there are synergies, uses the same equipment, uses the same building, uses the same labor, uses the same raw materials, any of those types of things, that just reduces your cost for that second thing that you're adding to it. And then the other thing I remind them is, if you're in food service, and I have a client who's going to launch a business who makes pimento cheese, and she makes really good pimento cheese, and she has 3 different flavors of them. They're all really good, but that's all her business is. And I tell her, I said, look, Spanx is the only business I know that launched with 1 product and was successful.
I just went in a Spanx store. I was in St. Petersburg last weekend, and they have a lot of products.
Well, I was going to say, they now have hundreds of things.
I'm like, wow.
But the business launched on basically 1 product, and it stands as the anomaly. That's not how small business works. I told her she needed to sell crackers, and she looked at me. I said, she didn't want to bake. I said, you don't have to bake. There's 1 million people making crackers. Find 2 that you really like and now resell them and take a small percentage.
That's a good idea.
But just start look at how you can get revenue streams into your business that don't take up a lot more time for whatever it is that you're doing. And what you'll find is your cash flow just sort of starts to even out. So I get them to really go. And the other thing I try to tell them, I'm sure you've run into this, budding entrepreneurs are always afraid to ask for a reasonable price for their product or service. They're always trying to undercut, and I try to share with them.
Or they ask too much.
Right. Yeah, you're either in. And I tell them the successful small business is neither the most expensive or the least expensive. They're always right in the middle of wherever the market is. So set your prices right in the middle, and you'll be like the average entrepreneur. So didn't know if you had anything you want to add to that.
I have 2 things to add to that. One, you asked me about internet and the business. When we have been looking at businesses that we wanted to bring into Pink Hill, we made a list of things you cannot buy or get over the internet, or you can't get well. Okay, but there's a dog grooming. You can't get dog grooming over the internet.
That's right.
I have beauty salon. You can't get beauty salon over the internet. Because so many people, particularly in the rural areas, we buy things on the internet because there's not any local. It takes a long way to drive. So that's something you have to think in mind too. Is what do people need that they don't want to have to drive away to, but there are enough people to support that.
That's right. And I do end up doing a lot of work with clients on demographics, what's available. And I also remind them, I asked you the question about social media and then I ran off on a tangent, but social media has changed how we advertise and market our business. It used to be 20 years ago or before, only large corporations had the budget to advertise. And a couple of things happened. It was all push advertising. They told us what they wanted us to hear. Mm-hmm. When problems occurred in their business, they would just increase their advertising budget and just push through those problems. Mm-hmm. None of that happens today. If you're a small business owner or no business owner at all, you can start advertising to the world today on the internet for no cost.
Well, for $5 on Facebook.
That's right. And you can get your message out there. So how we advertise and the costs of it have gone down, which is a benefit to small business. However, poorly done advertising is still poorly done advertising, and now you just make that message harder. But even more important to the social media and the use of it, I don't think our clients really understand how much information is sitting out there. Facebook Ad Manager will tell you a whole lot about who's coming to your site and who is using it. And you can ask yourself, is that my demographic? And, I often see clients wanting to hop on all social media platforms. And I say, no, who's your customer? If your customer is 18 to 25, you better be on Instagram. If your
Snapchat.
Or Snapchat. If your customer is 35 to 60, you better be on Facebook. If you're middle-aged females are your customer, you better be on Pinterest. If you are, all of these platforms have settled into certain demographics, and you want to make sure you're using the demographic that your customer is at. Otherwise, you're swimming upstream.
But we still need traditional media, radio advertising, billboards,
She's
and
after your heart,
newspaper
Ken.
advertising. Is not everybody's own social media, and there's some people that are moving away from it. Not everybody reads the newspaper. We advertise and for the Rose Festival, for example, coming up, we're advertising Duplin, the Duplin Times, and in the Kinston Free Press. We have billboards up. Different people read different things. We have an ad on a Spanish radio for Pink Hill Pharmacy. You got to do it all.
Yeah, I think you're really you hit the nail on the head. At the Small Business Center, I'll tell a story on myself. When I first started a little over a year ago, I looked at what had been spent in advertising and where it had been spent, and I was going to save us a whole lot of money because I was going to really leverage social media. Mm-hmm. And then I started digging into, well, who are my customers? And looking at their age, their gender, and all of those things. And I realized if I only use social media as an outlet for it, I'm going to miss the 55 to 70-year-old demographic because they're going to look at the newspaper. Mm-hmm. And so if I want to run ads for seminar, if I want to promote seminars that we're offering, I better put them in the newspaper as well as put them on social media, as well as talk about them on this show. You're right, I have to use them all, but I always push my clients to who are your customer, where are they at, and what do they listen or read or use, and then leverage the heck out of that. we've mentioned a couple times, but we haven't talked about. Let's talk a little bit about Rose Fest. How many rose bushes have you planted, you said?
My team, we're planning right now. We'll have 2,500 blooming, and by the Rose Fest on May 21st, that's the third weekend in May. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, let's back up. Tell people how this all got started.
Well, I moved to Pink Hill a little over 7 years ago, and there it was named after pink flowers. And it's the only incorporated pink hill in the country. But I didn't see one darn pink flower. And I'm like, well, and I'm a gardener. And for the first time in my life, I had time to garden. So I was like, well, I'm going to plant some flowers. So the first year, and I said, well, what would bloom the most? Those knockout roses bloom great. And so I started the Pink Hill Flower Fund, and I planted 50 roses, pink roses. One the next year, I don't know, 250. Anyway, we're on our 6th year, and we'll be up to 2,500. Now, I didn't start out as just doing roses because there's a Rose Hill. And, it does get a little confusing. Pink Hill with the roses and Rose Hill with the chickens.
Right.
It's a little confusing. But I started the Pink Hill Flower Fund to plant flowers. And there were initially there were a lot of wildflowers going in Pink Hill. And the roses just took off. They're so much easier. And then the Rose Festival was started. And I haven't found flowers that will bloom every year. Well, I don't have to replant them from April to November, like the knockout and the other roses. We're also now planting climbing roses. We're planting low-growing roses. And the town, was wary at first, but now they figured out the more roses I plant on town property, the less grass they have to mow.
Yes, right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So you started planting flowers, but when did the idea for the festival come about?
The festival initially started as a fundraiser for the Pink Hill Area Preservation to renovate the old school building. And I think they did it. They called it the Rose Fest in my honor because I was planting the roses. If they asked me, I probably would have called it the Pink Flower Festival or the Pink Festival because of the Rose Hill, Pink Hill thing. But the Rose Fest has grown, and I'm now in charge of it. It has become it supports more organizations, all the community. The number one goal is to bring the community together. Small towns are dying, everything fall apart, everybody's moved away. They just feel they have a self-image problem.
Right.
And we got to make ourselves feel good again. And one thing the Roses have done is very quickly said, things can change. This town can look good again. It made Pink Hill believe in itself again. Because the buildings, they take longer. They're one by one. There's so many of them. But the roses just really pop. That can make a difference. So the Rose Festival is a fundraiser for our community, and it is a way to bring our community together, to get people here to know and to learn and maybe want to live in Pink Hill.
And I noticed when you brought in today, you had Hope Smith do it's not really the logo, it's the 2016 artwork for it, and I assume you'll have T-shirts and.
Oh yeah, she did it last year too. Hope Smith will be painting a live painting at that as well. We also have, I haven't announced it yet, but I'll announce it for the first time today. It's John Cohen Howard, who is probably the biggest, most successful farmer in eastern North Carolina. He's a very smart man. He is receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award from Pink Hill.
Oh, cool.
He has helped and motivated so many other farmers and helped so many other businesses. He's a brilliant man. It would be great to have him on his show. Thank you. He used to be. His children were known as John Cohen's daughters. Right. Now, he's known as his children's father because one of his daughters is Vivian Howard, a chef and a farmer. His other daughter is Lorraine Howard of Queen Street Deli.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I will have to reach out to him.
I'll be glad to contact him.
I would love to have him on the show because he can tell me how I went wrong. My maternal grandfather was a large farmer in Edgecombe County. Mm-hmm. And right as I was 17, trying to decide what I was going to be when I grew up, he pulled me aside and said if I would go to NC State and major in agriculture, he'd start me up in farming. And what he was looking at is he didn't really have anyone to step in. He wanted someone, and my uncle was going to do it. But at that point, I I was a grandson, so I got away with a lot more than my uncle did. He was a son, and so he was trying to just make sure it came. And I couldn't tell him no to start with, but it was just not in me. I didn't want to be a farmer.
It's got to be in you. But John Cohen has 2 grandchildren at NC State. They're big with NC State. One thing you may want to ask him is how he's helped other entrepreneurs. And I don't want to speak for him, but he's helped a lot of other businesses, and he's part owner and maybe the financial backer, but then he has other people doing all the work.
Right.
And that's an interesting partnership that he has.
Yeah, it's. I think it's. If you're not a farmer, I don't think you really understand what it is, but those who are successful at it do have an opportunity to really touch the communities in which they live in, and
it's
typically
just like small businesses. It's the small businesses that give back to the community. The big box companies, they don't give back to the community, or they do in a very small thing. Pink Hill Pharmacy, for example, we are the biggest philanthropists in Pink Hill. We're there every ball team, everything that's involved in Pink Hill, we're putting money into, and that's why if you trade with us, we give back to the community. If you go to Walmart, well, what's Walmart going to do for you?
$100. Or about when you go and ask, and I get the fact that they're asked all the time, but it's even to me from an
but you know how much money their daughters, Sam Walton's daughters have, and you know what their apartment is in New York City. Small businesses aren't buying a third home.
That's right.
Small businesses are paying for their kids' ball games and they're putting money in the community.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. Even if Walmart were to give 10% of the profits of a store to the community, it wouldn't touch nearly what all the small businesses do, because that money comes right back into the grocery store, the filling station. It stays here. It doesn't go away and then come back in some small percentage. So I do, stress buy local wherever you can. And if you can't buy local, let somebody know. Let somebody know that, because sometimes there's an entrepreneur waiting to hear there's a problem that they didn't know existed to help go solve. So
don't assume that Walmart's cheaper. Walmart may have something cheaper, but they have a lot of things more expensive. People think small business first. Don't think Walmart first. Think small business first.
That's right. I agree. Well, let's talk a little bit. The Rose Fest is coming up in May 21st. Is that right?
Saturday,
the third Saturday in May. You build 2 stages, and you've got a lot of entertainment coming this way.
We're moving up in the world this year. We're going from flatbed stages to professional paid stages.
All right.
And we got Brian Mayer coming. And once we booked Brian Mayer, the phone started ringing. Everybody's like, I want to play at your festival. So we are fully booked.
Okay.
We got
How many
wide
shows?
range of entertainment.
Yeah, I've seen you've got comedians, you've got some local bands, local within the couple of county regional bands, right? But you, how many shows have you booked? Do you know off the top of your head?
Well, we got one day from 10 in the morning to 10 at night. We got the other day from 10 in the morning to 6 p.m.
Okay, that's a lot of shows.
One of my assistants is doing the entertainment, and she's doing a great job. We've got Hank Barbie and a couple of his other bands from Swansboro that are folk pop. I'm not sure what that means, but folk pop sounds pretty cool to me. We've got country, we've got hip-hop, we got all different kinds of music.
And you got comedy.
And we got comedy. She's really funny. I think.
Yeah.
We have belly dancers.
Oh, that's right.
Belly dancers.
2 shows of belly dancing, I believe I read.
Yeah, we have them 2 shows. They're sponsored by Starts and Waivers, our law firm in town that went from us. We haven't had a lawyer in town in 15 years. And my daddy would say that's good, but he forbid me becoming a lawyer. He said, I'm going to disinherit you if you become a damn lawyer. Become a lawyer.
That's fine.
Anyway, but we have 2 lawyers, and they sponsor the Starts and Waivers. They sponsor the belly dancers. We also have these women coming from Newbern that hang upside down on rope, on
fabric.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's pretty extraordinary to see.
Well, yeah, it's you have to be in shape to do that when you're hanging by your ankles. But yeah, I have seen that several times. So it's going to be interesting. What I know you're in the process of booking vendors and other things. Can you sort of tell people on that Saturday sort of what's going to happen? What time do things get started and all the things that you have planned on?
It starts at 10 o'clock, run to 10 that night. We will have wine and beer starting mid-afternoon. We will have a lot of free kids stuff. We had some new kids activities. So that a lot of our kids and a lot of people in Duplin and the North County are poor, and we want to make sure we offer the kids to be able to do things that they may not ordinarily do, and all the entertainment's free as well. It's sponsors and vendors are paying, helping us pay for it. We're looking for more sponsors. We have the stage title for the stages.
Okay.
We already have sponsors from some of the, schools and the Memorial Hospital, and I think maybe Viden and some of those. But we're looking at more and more smaller businesses. A small business can sponsor us for as little as $300, and that may be one entertainment, and then a business can sponsor us for as much as $5,000.
Okay.
And then the vendors, we are full of entertainment, but we don't have as many vendors.
Okay.
And particularly with food and other, we want vendors that have fun stuff. We want vendors that have small business. And the vendors, the non-food vendors start at $75, so it's very affordable. We expect over 8,000 people.
Okay. Do you have food trucks signed up?
Yes, we have a few, but what we try to do is
I need to get you some of my clients coming this way.
Okay, definitely, because what we try to do is we limit the food. And we try to have a variety, and we try to have this person sell this, and this person sell this, and this person, so that people have a full variety, and that we want our vendors happy. This is a happy day. We want our customers, we want the vegetable growers happy. We want the vendors happy. We want them to make money. So we're very selective about who, but we do have some food slots. We have a fish fry available. We have several foods available.
I'll put Ken on the spot here. Anyway, we could do a remote show. If you want to, we could do this show
that'd be great.
From 9 to 10. So it'd be an hour before it starts, but we would be out there promoting it.
That'd be fun.
All right.
That'd be fun. You know what? It'd be great if you could walk around and interview some of the businesses, because most of the vendors are small businesses.
Okay.
And that would be great. We would love to have you.
I'll talk. We'll talk with Ken. We'll see how we can pull this off.
Okay.
Been wanting to do a remote show anyway. So we'll see how we can do that. It'd be a lot of fun. Now, I have to ask you a question. You don't know that I'm going to ask this, but you'll be able to answer it. Tell me a little bit about your pink backhoe. You have a backhoe that's pink.
Okay, let me say, first of all, pink is not my favorite color.
It is going to be.
That's a great myth. When I was a career woman, I don't think of myself as a career woman anymore. I'm just a lot of things right now. But,
right.
When I was a career woman becoming president of a company, I never wore pink. That was too feminine. I wore red, and I had a power suit with the black and red and my Bush Brothers and all that. And now I wear pink every day. My office is pink. Everything, because we're branding pink here. We're the only pink hill in the country. We can make pink. We can't make no hill,
right.
or men hill. I don't care to have my men everywhere, but pink is easy to do. What a blessing to have a name like Pink Hill. So I have a pink backhoe. I have a pink golf cart. I have a very macho Hispanic foreman and he has to drive the pink backhoe and the pink trailer. He goes, Miss Susan, please don't paint that pink. I like the orange and black just fine. And so what else we have? We have a pink pickup truck, and it's all beat up. Just looks like it's just beat to hell, but it's pink. Now, this backhoe wasn't strong enough. I had to buy another one, and I have a John Deere backhoe now.
Okay, and although it would make people cringe, have you painted it pink yet?
I'm dying to.
But it's green still.
No, it's not. John Deere backhoes are yellow, orange.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going to paint. Pink paint is actually very, very expensive.
It is.
And so I'm just going to paint part
It also
of
doesn't
pink.
last very long because
Well, we're
it fades.
scared. Once we painted it pink, this loss is forearm strength. Mm-hmm. And so we're really worried if we paint the John Deere pink, it'll lose its forearm strength.
Right. Yeah, pink is a tough color. I have a textile background, and it's a tough color to paint or dye anything, and it also is not very light fast. It will fade pretty quickly too. So let's talk a little bit about, because you have such a positive attitude and so excited about this, how do you handle the naysayers? Because you have to have them. They're in a small rural community, change is hard. It's hard for everybody, and I get that. And there's some patience, and sometimes I say it's a generational thing, that this too shall pass, but only when they pass.
Well, I do have people that wish I was dead.
Yeah.
I have people.
Well, you're not living if you don't have that.
I know, and I have three answers to that. One, I was born 85% deaf. which in a way has been a huge blessing because I've had to work harder. And that's why I talk a little different. I had 15 years of speech therapy. You know what? If they're going to talk bad about me, I can cut my hearing aids off. I can't hear anything behind me.
I like
they
that.
can talk behind my back. I can't hear them. I'm 85% deaf. And also, I grew up in a small town. I know what it's like. I understand these people. I have relatives like this.
Right.
You know, and some small towns are their own worst enemy. Mm-hmm. And somebody said that I had more money than sense. Well, you know, he's wrong. I don't have as much money as he thinks I do, and I got a lot more sense than he does.
Right. Well, it's a testament, but you're not doing this out of benevolence. You're not doing this out of, or I don't think you are. I shouldn't say that. It's not my opinion you're doing it out of benevolence. You're doing it out of smart economics, but in a time horizon that's longer than most.
Yeah, but it's a very long-term investment. It's nothing that we are generating. All the money that we are making, we're putting back in.
Right.
We're spending a lot of money on the building. We'll see the money, or maybe my heirs will see the money. But what we're doing, we took our money out of the stock market, out of out-of-town investments, and we're putting it all in our community, where we can see it, where we can make a difference. Because when I die, I want to have made a difference in the world, and
right.
It's my little world is downtown Pink Hill, and I can make a difference in that. That's all I need to do.
Yeah, I'll talk to my immaturity when I was young. I used to think it was a waste of time to worry about your legacy because I thought it was the epitome of ego, and that if you were worried about your legacy, then you were worried about the wrong things. And I was pretty vocal about that through my 20s and 30s.
You were a cocky young man.
Oh, yes. I was a big subscriber. I didn't know it at the time, but Mark Twain once said, "Give a man confidence in ignorance, and success is sure to come."
You were smart. You knew you were smart.
And I unfortunately would let you know that too. So,
yeah,
but as I get older, I've started to understand the legacy is not really so much about you. It's so that there's a mark that's left that is worthwhile.
Yeah, it's not a legacy so much. It's that you just want to make a difference. I have a lot of skill. I've been given much. And I want to make a difference in this world and make something better. It's not. I don't have to remember my name. But I want to remember what I did, or I don't remember, that made a difference.
Right. Yeah. To those that much has been given, much is expected.
Yes.
And I certainly understand that. It's amazing what a few more decades will do for your attitude and what in some ways, I was that kid who thought his parents, when he was 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, thought they were idiots, and that, if they just let me make all the decisions, life would be eminently better.
And I felt sorry for myself at that age, because I was 85% deaf. I talked funny. There were so many things I couldn't do, or so many limits, and I felt sorry for myself and made excuses. And then my mother one night died in a car wreck, and I no longer felt sorry for myself because, that was growing up. It's the worst thing that ever happened to me. So, and I was 16, and once I stopped making excuses and just started, let's just see what I could do. Let's just try. Let's just see what I could do. Then I could, the whole world open up, and technology has really changed my life. Nanotechnology, particularly the internet, the fax machine. I can't hear alarm to sleep. So I used to have this in college. I had this bed vibrator that would vibrate, to wake me up. It was subject of endless shows from everybody. So, but technology has changed my life.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. You and I talked just a little bit about nanotechnology. I always tell people, when you look at Duplin County, and the same is true with everyone bemoans. After 2008, 2009 was tough economic times, and it became even harder here, 2010, 2011, and real estate prices plummeted, and everyone was bemoaning the world was coming to an end. It doesn't take you long, though, to look back and realize this is not
There's an opportunity to buy.
You have a choice. You can say the glass is half empty. You can say it's half full. It really is your choice. And with every hardship, there is opportunity. It's just a matter of what you want to do with it. It doesn't mean you have to make every hardship an opportunity. Sometimes you can just go home and sit down and bemoan. That'd be fine. But most of the time, you find the opportunity. You'll work right on through it. It's a lot.
I have a story about that.
Sure, go ahead.
Early when I was young, in my late 20s, and thought I was 28, thought I was ready to be CEO of a company, and I had a boss who was just good for nothing drunk, lazy, didn't do anything, took credit for all my work, was drunk in the afternoon, and here I was, he was just in my way. And, but I learned something from him. Everything that bad happened, or everything that happened, good or bad, he turned it in his advantage. And that, and not just in a work advantage, not just a personal. And that's what I think changed my life, is everything that happens is, how can I turn this into an advantage? How can I make this a good thing?
Right. Well, I think a lot of times, and when it's happening to us, it's hard not to personalize it, but most of the things that happen, bad or good, aren't about us anyway. So I get my ego out of it and just take stock for what it is.
Oh, you're over 40 now.
Oh, yeah. It becomes much easier to yeah, I wouldn't have liked me when I was young. I'm pretty sure about that if I were here today. But in fairness, some of that, black and white, was the energy needed to move forward. And so, I am self-deprecating about it, but I don't hate myself. It was fine. It was about what every young person is, and I'm just glad to have made it over that hill to where I can see it a little differently.
Middle age is the best kept secret.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I'm having more fun now than I've ever had. I thought I was having fun in my 20s, but relationships are richer, conversations are better. I learn more every day because I'm willing to learn, those kinds of things. But helping people also is, I always thought I was a nerd and all I wanted to do was make things or do things. I didn't really care about people. They were a necessary evil. As it turns out, I really like people. I'd rather be around people and help them than make things. And
what is your Myers-Briggs personality type?
ENTP or ENTJ. Either
Oh,
one.
I'm an ENTJ.
Yeah, the P and the J.
ENTJs are the leaders of the world.
Yeah,
and they're the field marshals. They're not very well liked, but they make things happen.
Well, that's where the T and the J switch. I'm persuasive. I will try to persuade you in a nice way to come along with the way I want. And at a point when you don't do that, then I'll just be the field marshal. I'll give you some time to understand I'm right, and if you decide that's not true, then I'll make you do it my way. But yeah, that's the downside of an ENTJ or P is that extroverted, always looking from the outside to see what's going on and not spending a lot of time reflecting on the inside is our downfall. And when we think we're right, we will shut down listening to anything else. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad. My wife is the complete opposite end of the spectrum on the Myers-Briggs, and she be glad to point out my faults.
How many years you been married?
32.
102?
32. Oh. 32. She may say 102. I actually feel blessed. So, let's go back a second. You said you had 9 properties in a waiting list commercially. You'd like to buy more. Hopefully you will get that opportunity. But if people have questions, because you've got a fitness center, there's a lot going on in the school building. How do people find out more? Give them some information about how to contact you or others in the community.
If they let me give you one number to call. You can call Pink Hill Pharmacy. There's a bat number, and ask for my office. Mm-hmm. One of my assistants can tell you every number in town, and that number is 252-568-4477. Also, if you can find me on Facebook at Susan G. Myers, you can find Rose Fest. It's not Pink Hill Rose Fest on Facebook. It's Rose Fest. The Wellness Center and the Wellness Education Center, you can find that on Facebook. Call our office. We'll give you the phone number. I do, for the first time in my life, I do exercise classes.
Good
I've been
you.
doing it for 2.5 years. I do yoga and Tai Chi. And boy, I thought yoga was just, I would never do yoga when I was 30 years old.
Right.
And I love it. We have great teachers out there. The Wellness Center is in one of the old school buildings. Mm-hmm. With also some classes out there for education. But the Wellness Center, no matter what your age or your fitness level, everybody does it on their own level.
Right.
They have 24-hour access. If we don't support, everybody's like, well, I will go and drive 30 miles and I can get it for $5 cheaper. Well, first you spend money on gas and time. Your time is valuable. Second, you need to support the community.
That's right. Well, nobody's getting rich on what the fitness center is charging. I mean, if you haven't, I would tell folks, if you haven't been to see what's at the wellness center, do yourself a favor, call and go see. There's a lot of exciting things happening, and a lot of people involved, not just you and your husband, but there's a lot of people involved in trying to make this happen.
As far as the Pink Hill Wellness Center, and we've been the biggest dollar philanthropist, but Johnny Shepard of Shepard Equipment donated the property. The Scott family started it. It's taken a whole lot of people. What we've tried to do is be that spark in the community as we believe and more people believe. Us just taking care of property, we've inspired some people to clean up their property. It's just mow the grass.
Right.
Just take care of it.
Right. So are you able to say on the air about how many folks with all the businesses, how many jobs are being formed? Because this is important stuff.
How dumb of me not to have thought of that, because all the years we're doing SBA loans and other farmers' homes and EDA and all that, I've always done a job created.
Right.
So I haven't thought of that. I can answer it next time.
Okay, well, that's fine, because I can say, folks, there's a lot of jobs there, though. You don't have that many stores without one or two people. In fact, one of the tenants at our mart, I worked with Penny Harper for many years. She's you may not know it, she's a very talented woven technical designer. She makes fabric. Yeah, she worked at Guilford for a long time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it was when her and Freddie decided to really make a go of this is when she resigned at Guilford. But yeah, she's very talented woven designer.
She's very talented at running Armart in Arbison and then in Pink Hill. They actually rent from us. They were renting the building when we bought it. The building was dark, no air conditioning, heat, it looked bad on the outside, so we spent a fortune with lighting, new air conditioning, heat, siding on the back and everything. And so in about 10 years, we hope to get our money back.
Yeah, but they are also now trying to renovate inside, aren't they, as well? Aren't they doing some renovations inside?
No, we renovated the building inside the.
Okay.
No, you may be talking about the Arbison store they own.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the Alderson building they own, the Pink Hill building we own, we've already renovated that.
But then it's the Alberson that they're doing.
Yeah, they are doing some work on that. And Penny's a super Girl Scout leader too.
That's right. I didn't buy cookies from her this year. I forgot to be reminded of it, but I've always bought cookies from her. Even when my daughter was selling them, I bought them from Penny. But
you just sell them at Armart all year long.
Yeah. I've been worked with Penny for a decade or more, off and on. So my background's in textiles too. So let's remind people one more time. We've got we got about 5 or 6 minutes. Ken, just making sure that I'm aware of time. Let's go back over the Rose Fest again. Give people the dates, the information, a little bit about the entertainment.
Okay, Rose Fest, third Saturday in May. We expect over 8,000 people. We have vendor and sponsor slots available. You can call 252-568-4477. That's 568-4477. You can look at our website, rosefest.org. Facebook page, Rose Fest. If you can read some of the list of the vendors for me, not vendors, but the entertainment, we have a great list of entertainment.
Yeah, I'll be glad to, because you sent this to me. You're announcing that you've got country music artist Brian Mayer is going to be headlining for you this year. I didn't realize this. I'm not a country music fan, but I do like it. But he's a New Bern native. I didn't know that. He's the new voice on the country music scene. I guess he has 3 singles that have been, he was nominated and crowned the Best Male Country Artist 2014 at the Carolina Music Awards. He's got a hit single that I'll now have to go listen to, Little Bit Naughty, was released in September 2015. He was on a Midwest tour, Ohio, Wisconsin, Illinois. So he's your headlining act, and you said once you booked him, all of a sudden acts started falling from the sky. And so almost all of the entertainment's going to be new this year. You've got the Swansboro natives, Wild Honey and Forever All. Kinston natives, Mason Jar, Bonfire, and 8-Track. I love that name, 8-Track for a band.
I know, I remember my
I'm old enough. Yeah, I'm old enough to go,
Track.
wow, that's a band after my own heart. There's somebody there over 50 in that band.
God, you just told people I'm over 50.
I was talking about me. I'm 55.
But I said I knew what an 8-track meant.
Well, you told them, not me. But you've got Smash Studios, and then you had the silk dancers that you were talking about, the aerial silk dancers. Nico Wild Magic, Sister Big Bone Comedian. I got to see this one too. What a name. And then Thick Modine and Carolina Dare. So lots of entertainment. I think you said it starts at what time did you say the music on one stage?
It starts at 10.
At 10 and
10
goes to
on 2 stages, and one ends at 6 and one ends at 11. One ends at 10. Also, a couple of entertainment that we asked back. We didn't. We wanted more new stuff, bigger stuff. But Hank Barbie is just incredible, and he's an up and coming musician out of Squanchball. Anyway, he'll be back. And then we have the belly dancers back.
The Barefoot Gypsies.
Yeah, they're hot. Well, I mean, if I was a man, they're hot. But I tell you what, as a woman, blind man, I ain't Barbie hot. So, but also we have a group of teenage singers.
Okay.
And they'll come at Julian Wilson of Kenton has already played at the Bluebird Cafe in Nashville.
Okay.
And she's an up-and-coming songwriter and gotten a lot of exposure. She goes to South Lenore. We have a band called I Forgot, which is a typical teenage word. And they're out of Farmville, I believe, and they'll be back.
That's very good. And then we wouldn't, because I love dogs. You got your pet parade.
Oh, the pet parade is huge, and it's different. Nobody else has the pet parade, but you have to dress it up in pink.
Okay.
And you dress it up in pink and winter wars, and you trot your pet around. And sometimes the parents of the pet, the grown-up, dress up too.
Right.
And that was filmed on a Shelf Life last year. And one more thing, our outstanding Lifetime Achievement Award going to John Curran Howard. So as you see him, thank you for accepting the award.
Okay. Well, Susan, it has been an absolute pleasure talking with you. I got so engrossed in the conversation, I forgot to tell people that they were listening to the Community and Small Biz Update for Duplin County, sponsored by James Sprunt Community College and the Small Business Center at James Sprunt Community College. Supposed to do that at the midway mark, but I was just having too much fun with the conversation. It was a pleasure to have you. We will have you back on the show. Is there any parting comments you want to make? No?
Thank you.
No, well, it was a blessing to have you. You have a very inspiring story, and I'm very proud to be a Duplin County native with someone that's working as hard as you are. Well, folks, it's about that time again. You have, as they say on Click and Clack, you've wasted an entire hour listening to the Community and Small Biz Update for Duplin County. Our show will be on our YouTube channel sometime early next week, and I will broadcast it out to everyone. I don't have a guest booked for next week, so if you're dying to be on the show, just let me know. Susan's holding up Hope's artwork for the Rose Fest that's coming up. Don't forget, that's May 21st. Well, folks, I hope y'all have a wonderful weekend. A little cool today, but it's going to be sunny and it's going to be nice and pleasant tomorrow. So get out and have a great weekend.